And CO2 has actually seen that there's a correlation between increasing levels of CO2 inside and our ability to perform well in terms of strategic thinking, creativity, decision making.
Hello and welcome to another Coffee with Mr. IoT. My name is Robert Schmidt. I'm Deloitte's Chief IoT Technologist. And today my guest is Martin McGloin. You actually coming to us from Oslo. Welcome and nice to have you on the show. Thanks for joining. How are you?
I'm very good. As you said, home office in Oslo. We're just back down, sadly, to another lockdown. So this is not my normal working environment. Well, I suppose now it is.
Are you healthy? I see you have behind you the book Healthy Buildings. Are you in a healthy building and are you healthy?
Let me check with my IoT device. My Garmin says I'm pretty healthy right now. Yes.
Excellent.
No, I'm good.
It's a pleasure.
Good. Touch wood. It's been good so far.
Awesome. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you virtually this way and having you on the show. I have to start with, typically I ask people what they do for work and about their company, but with you, I have to start with something different. Your LinkedIn tagline is, if love was the only thing in the air, my job wouldn't exist. I love it. It's great. And I think it needs a little explanation. And I think that's the whole point. You want to tease us into a conversation. So go with it. Please tell us what's that about. It's fantastic. And I want to hear more about it.
So in a nutshell, I work for a Norwegian technology company called Airthings. So I'm the head of product there for our business unit. And we create wireless indoor air quality devices that let you know whether you're inside as you said yourself, healthy building. So we started out specializing in radon gas detection, and we have a unique patent for digital radon gas detection. I don't know if you've ever monitored radon at home. You use one of these
I have not.
So the traditional way, and this is really like a classic digitalization story. So the traditional way of measuring radon at home was with one of these film, we call them POCs in Norwegian. There's like a little black thing that you leave for 3 months inside, and there's a little film that you bring to a processing lab, and literally like a Kodak film, you bring it to process, and you count how many radon molecule, alpha particles have shot through the film, and then you calculate the concentration.
But why would so I'm sorry.
Okay. I jumped straight into.
You right away made me feel like, oh my God, I should monitor radon, and I'm not. What's going on? Why would I monitor radon? What is radon? Just tell for the people like me who don't know what I should monitor at home.
So radon gas is it's a radioactive molecule that's in the air. It's inert. It's in the air all around us. And with everything that we talk about in terms of air quality, human bodies, we don't really have the senses to detect whether we're breathing good or bad air. So radon, for example, is something that's invisible to all of our senses. Yet the impact it can have on our bodies is far from invisible, and it's actually the biggest cause of lung cancer, both in the US and Europe, for non-smokers. So essentially it's a little radioactive particles that decays. It releases energy that damages our lung tissue, that causes cancer-inducing mutations in our DNA. So we made sensors that help you detect this.
So what does the sensor look like? Are these like behind you? Are these sensors that from your company? Show us one.
Oh, what a coincidence. Yeah, there are some behind here. You're right.
Yeah, what a coincidence, right? You're a good product manager.
So we, as a product manager, I'm a bit proud of the devices that we do make. So this is the Airthings Wave Plus, and it's got, so I said our journey with Airthings started with radon gas detection, but we've realized that radon, which is invisible around us, is a good illustration for all the other things that are in the air around us that are impacting our bodies more than just a well-being parameter, right? The air you breathe impacts your health. And increasingly, and this shocked me because I've only been working within this field for the last 3 years, also the way we think and the way we behave. So it's really pivotal that we get a different understanding of the air quality inside our buildings.
So now I have one of your sensors.
Yeah.
I guess this isn't, so this is in addition to, I have my whole house. There is carbon monoxide and like fire detection sensors, right? I have those. They're connected. They talk to me actually. And now I need another one. I'm gonna put your sensor up, correct? This isn't gonna replace what I have, or is it?
It's not. So the kind of parameters I would recommend that we monitor inside, whether it's at home or in our working environment, is things like CO2. And and CO2 is more and more studies. Okay, I'm going to point to another thing behind me. Like, for example, this book was published last year by a professor at Harvard University, Dr. Joseph Allen. And he went through all the recent studies that has looked at how air quality impairs our cognitive abilities. And CO2 has actually seen that there's a correlation between increasing levels of CO2 inside and our ability to perform well in terms of strategic thinking, creativity, decision making. So CO2 is definitely a parameter to monitor. Temperature and humidity, traditionally a comfort parameter, but can impact mold growth. So we actually use this to create algorithms to monitor mold growth. We've talked about radon. Again, it's something to watch out for to make sure you're not getting potentially causing lung cancer if you have radon inside your building. There's VOCs, so volatile organic compounds, which are essentially the things that you can smell, like from paints, fumes, formaldehyde, that kind of things that can impact us in various different ways. What else do we monitor? There's a light sensor, which is great for kind of optimizing your control of your more commercial buildings. I'm pretty sure I forgot one, but can I just show you? So Robert, let me just
Please
show
do.
you the power of IoT and having wireless technology. And this is why I'm excited. So I'm a software developer as training, and that's what I worked with before I entered the world of IoT, indoor air quality, and building control, are what I kind of want to say as like prop tech, property technology. And for me, it's kind of IoT is what is our eyes and ears within our buildings. But really the exciting stuff is what happens with APIs and sharing of data between these subsystems, right? I think
Okay.
you're shared the same excitement as me, right?
I do.
So for example, the cool things you can do, I have this sensor now monitoring my indoor air quality, and then I'm in a video meeting and you're kind of concerned about how's Martin breathing now? Is he performing to his A game when it comes to cognitive ability? Is the air quality impacting him? And I'll go and say, well, I'll show you. Here's my air quality live feed from my sensors. And let's investigate what my air quality is at this actual moment.
So CO2 I can see is yellow.
Yeah. So 650 ppm it's okay. It's okay. That's pretty good, actually. That's pretty good. I wouldn't have any concerns about that. So atmospheric CO2, so the baseline CO2 we have in the atmosphere is currently around 415 parts per million. And of course, that's going up as we going to increasingly putting CO2 into the atmosphere. However, when you breathe out, Robert, that's
You breathe out CO2.
You breathe out, but you know how much CO2 you're breathing out?
No.
A lot. So 40,000 parts per million. So it's a huge delta.
So
between
basically what
background.
that tells me is you should open the window.
Not yet. Let's see let's come back and check those numbers at the end of the meeting, and then we'll see if we should open the window. I think 650 is pretty good. If you're inside a building with 650, it's not impairing your cognitive abilities to any large extent. It's fresh air. And what CO2 does is that it's a good indication for how much of another person's breath you're breathing.
Okay, got it. So temperature 22 degrees Celsius, that's about 70 degrees Fahrenheit for our US watchers. By the way, this is the one thing to this day, I've been in this country now 25 years, and this switch from Celsius to Fahrenheit, I don't know, it's too much for me. I sort of know by now, but it's really weird. So humidity, that seems, it's orange because it's a little low. You'd like to have it a little higher, is that why?
Yeah. And the reason,
so humidifier or like plants or something like this help with that. Got it. Okay. And then is the last one radon?
No, it's not actually. I don't have radon there now. This is PM 2.5, so particulate matter, dust particles.
Got it. Okay. So very clean space. Okay. So where's radon on there?
I'm in an apartment building. I'm actually in a very old apartment building from the 1880s, and I'm quite high up. So radon tends to be a problem in the first 2 floors because it's something that emanates from the ground up. It's like in all the terrain, rocks around us, essentially uranium in the rocks that decays and it releases a radon molecule. So I don't need to be, sometimes because of where I'm sitting, radon is not really something I need to be concerned of just there. But if you're in a house, or if you're lower levels in an apartment building, an office building, you should be monitoring radon to ensure that you're not putting yourself to harm or risk.
Got it. Got it. So you don't need it. I understand. This is cool. So tell me now, what actions do you recommend to people with this? One of the things is I find this fascinating, right? I look at data and I go and see, wow, this is really cool. Now I get to know stuff that I didn't know before now, but it's about what actions do I take? What do you do with that data? How do you help people to actually make their air better for them? And, you know, how can I help myself to be smarter again?
Very good question. And that's the question.
Or more cognitive, I guess I should say, right?
Yeah.
Because he said cognitive abilities.
If I were to take a step, so that these are the kind of problems I'm grappling every day with a product manager for an IoT company. And for me, so the product vision we have in Airthings, and I think actually probably most companies that work with wireless sensor technologies, right? We have this ability to gather so much data about our environment around us. This kind of our product vision is 3 stages. And the first one is, okay, we have to have a robust, reliable system to gather this data. So having a well-functioning wireless battery operated sensor that can last for years, that you can just trust that this is going to gather data for me. But this, as I said before, this has 7 sensors. It's monitoring every 5 minutes. It sends a new data package wirelessly to a hub. That's 726,815 data points in 1 year. And then if you're like a facility manager, like a typical building I'm looking at, we have 20, 30, 50 of these sensors in the building. That's just like beyond human comprehension to understand all of these graphs, all of this data. What does that really mean? So after you've done the first step, which is about gathering data and having a robust system for gathering data, step 2, insight. How can I help our users convert this data into something that gives them an insight and understanding of their space in a different manner, right? And this is probably where I'm at now in my product development journey, customer journey with Airthings. So we really want to take these millions of data points that we're gathering for every building that we're helping ensure a healthy indoor environment, and converting them into actionable insights. So the building operator, the building manager, the janitor in the building really gets to know their building better. And only then, once you've really harnessed that and understood that part, then we can talk about the solution, I feel. Now, of course, you probably wanted me to say something simple, you should open a window. But I feel like the opportunity is a lot more complex and profound, and we really need to build up the steps, because we're talking about excitingly a lot of data, and the opportunities to optimize things to ensure a healthy indoor environment whilst we maintain the optimal energy consumption of our buildings. Now, of course, I'm not talking about an apartment like where I'm sitting now. I'm talking about a 100-story skyscraper that has multiple air handling units, that has heating and cooling and consumes a considerable amount of energy. I want to be part of the journey to optimize it throughout these kind of sensors and devices. And that's the opportunity with that I see in IoT.
Interesting. Thank you. I appreciate it. So it's not so much about right now, what actions do I take, but it's really what insights do I get out of connecting all these different sensors and seeing. It's like what you said before, right? Radon is more the first and the second floor, but not in upper floors and so forth. I was curious, you said before that you're in Europe and in the US. And what went through my mind when I was thinking about this was, my first question was, do you see different patterns by region and by location? So are you able to say, well, this city is cleaner than this place, vice versa, and so forth? And then I realized that a lot what you do is actually even more granular. It's really actually building focused. So do you see patterns that are location geography based, or location and or geography based on your insights?
So, yes and no, to have a curious answer to that. I think definitely with radon, we've created, so I think when it comes to digital radon detection, we're probably market leader, global leader on creating devices for radon detection. So we've actually taken that data and created a free resource, which is called radonmap.com, where we aggregated all the sensor data, anonymizes, of course. So you get like a real-time global image of how various radon concentrations and radon risk levels around the world where we have supplied our sensors. That's kind of us giving back to the community and giving back to this awareness of the impact that radon could have on life. And as you said yourself, you didn't know that you should be concerned about radon before we met, right?
You're right. I did not. So I opened this up now. I'm actually going to check out what goes on here. It's very interesting to me.
Cross your
Because in a
fingers, we have
way,
something in Hawaii. I'm not sure if we have any devices in Hawaii.
actually, there is something here. I can see lower risk. I don't know what that tells me. There's one big blob over there. So I guess I have to look at this. Very cool. Very interesting. Have you seen this influence people's decision making? Because some of the stuff I don't have any influence over, and some of the stuff I do. So what can I do as number one, a homeowner? Because right now I spend most of my work time at home, but eventually I go back to a workplace. And at home I have I can do certain things, and at work I can do other things. Some things I can do at home I can't do at work. What choices do I have? How do you have seen people take the data and make choices based on that?
We actually, again, the opportunity with having centrally connected devices and getting this overview. When the first lockdown with the current pandemic occurred, we did a data analysis and we looked at all our home sensors that were in people's home and saw how the air quality deteriorated, how the CO2 levels averages across as the lockdown spread from country to country to country. We could see people were shifting their working patterns from working in offices to homes by looking at how the air quality has evolved in the aggregate for country to country. So you should check that out on our website, airthings.com. You'll see a study that we made and it was republished in a lot of recognized news outlets afterwards. You can definitely see the shift from an office-based environment to home office, where we don't have necessarily the same control as a modern office environment to ensure that we have the optimal air quality for productive knowledge work or to work productively from home.
Does that mean you should be connected to all the HVACs and the heating systems? Is that sort of like where you want to go with this?
Yeah, exactly. And that's when I talked about the product vision, and I think this is probably like maybe similar for all sensor-based IoT companies. Okay, start with data. Start by building robust sensors that can confidently gather data about the environment that you're monitoring. Then first step is not creating smart buildings or automated self-operating buildings. First, you have to make smart people. Can you translate that raw data into some insights? And then the third step is, okay, how can we then just slowly start automating or optimizing the systems in the building? And for example, bringing our data straight into the HVAC system, the BMS, the building management system, the building automation system, those computer programs and systems that are responsible for optimizing the running of our building, which tend to be sometimes very simplistic, let's say, control parameters, if this, then that, or turn on at that time, turn off at that time. Now we can dynamically control them based on the actual data from the environment.
It's super interesting. I want to make sure I heard this right, but I think what you said was we make sensors. We don't actually want to automate other machines. We want to create smart people. And it's sort of a real interesting spin on, lots of people go and talk about, is IoT going to take my job away? And actually, you're just talking about it makes people smarter. So that's a really interesting take on this. I love it. Thank you.
And so what I say is we augment people's capabilities. My goal as a product manager in an IoT company, I want to make Trygve, who's the janitor in our office building, I want to make him smarter and more competent about his job and understand his building better. I want him to perform his job better. I want to be his secret weapon in his pocket. He takes out his iPhone app and he looks at his Airthings device and he can actually know how to run his building better thanks to the sensors we have. Because it's only if we've done that intermediate steps, we can't even, let's not talk about self-operating buildings, buildings that run like a Tesla autopilot before we've done that step right.
Good. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to switch a little bit the topic and talk about you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So, by the way, you started, I saw on your LinkedIn profile, you are a full stack developer, right? Do you still get to write code?
I do write a bit of code. The little integration I showed you here. So I play around with our API. I suppose that's what you call dog fooding, right? You have to use our API is one of our key products. So I have to be able to use it myself. So making this integration into my streaming camera so I can show live air quality data is something I've hacked together.
How are we doing, by the way? How's the CO2? Ooh, it's up. It's red.
Yeah. I think I've been having it. Oh God, it's gone up a lot. Yeah, I've been like holding the device in front of me. I'm breathing straight into it. Yeah, and the temperature has gone up.
Too.
Yeah, that's because of my moist breath, right?
Yeah, I get it. That's interesting. It's 50% up. That's a lot and interesting. Okay. Well, maybe you have to come back to my simple solution soon and open the window after all. So interesting.
It's minus 15 degrees outside. Minus 15 Celsius. So
just for a few minutes. Anyhow, so so you still write a little bit of code. The reason I ask you this is because as a compliment to you, you're so excited about what you talk about your product. And many developers, you know, I love this. Is it a transition for you from being a developer to a product manager? Is this a natural progression? Where does this fit? Talk to me a little bit about you, your enthusiasm, how you got from coding to being the product manager at an IoT company. Lots of people are very curious about this, and I'd love to hear your journey and your sort of personal take on that.
I think part of it, to be honest, starting point is that I probably don't have the patience as time to really go deep and work and solve the problems that a modern day software developer or software engineer has to do, right? So it was something that's itchiness. But I also, there's something about it. When you create something, you create it for someone, right? You have a user at the end of the day. And one of the first working experiences I have, and so my software development experience is from fintech, so financial technology, or like these startups that are revolutionizing how we do banking. And now I'm working in prop tech, the technology companies that are revolutionizing how we optimize our buildings. And the first company I worked with there it's quite a success. I wouldn't call it a startup anymore. It's a scale up. It's called Transferwise. And they revolutionized how we can do fast, efficient, and very low cost money transfers across borders. And the founder there, he was passionate about, if you're going to hire an engineer, you're not hiring just someone to code, you're hiring a product engineer, because at the end of the day, what you're coding is a product, and that product is going to be used by customers. So unless you're customer obsessed and you're product obsessed, you can't be a good computer engineer. So I think that instilled in me this kind of ethos and philosophy that whatever you make, you're making it for someone, and you have to be a product minded regardless of who your role is. So it doesn't, just because my title now is product manager, I still have, you still have to do, maybe involved with the coding, you have to do some design, but at the end of the day, it's that product for someone, for Trygve, who is the janitor in the building I was talking about, for Arild, who is the facility manager in the local municipality we have on the west coast of Norway, or Michael Baldwin, who's the campus manager in Life West College of Chiropractors on the west coast of the USA, who's also using our devices. You think about who's going to use this, and then you have a different empathy and passion for your product. You're not just making a thing for the world. You're solving someone's problem at the end of the day. So if you can instill that, I think that's really what makes a product manager, right? Or a product, anything.
It's so awesome here you describe how you think of developing, because I think this is the difference between good developers and great developers. Have you ever heard this, by the way? I've heard that the difference, when we talk efficiency in manufacturing, we talk in 10%, 20% increases makes a big difference. I've heard numbers. I forgot what the exact number was, but I know it was huge. The difference between a good developer and an excellent developer is 10, 20-fold efficiency increases, not in percentage point, but in multiples. So very fascinating. But what the way you described it is so how it feels to me, right? It's about what's the problem, who's the person, and what are they trying to do, rather than follow these steps in your coding. It's so different when you develop in that sense and think of it that way. So I love that. Thank you.
And I think you probably also come across this TED lecture, or probably read the book by Simon Sinek, like Start With Why. And like it doesn't, it's with whatever you do, you're doing it for a reason, a why, and for someone who, right? So if I'm writing a ticket for a new feature, or we start with a new device, it's probably not exactly the context that Simon was writing this in, but I always think, okay, why are we doing this? Why does the world need another piece of hardware? Do we have that? Have we really confidently answered that before we introduce another product to our lineup? Why do we need this new feature in the dashboard? Does it have a right to exist? Does it actually solve someone's problem? And the why should really be the answer to the problem. Okay, whose problem is it? Solving someone's problem, and and for me also needs to solve it in a delightful manner, right?
I want to go and ask you one question that's outside of Airthings, and that's sorry as a service. What was that?
What is that?
What is that? Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So,
Nicely done.
so Sorry as a Service is the world's largest apology provider.
Okay.
And tell me, and then you're like, tell me more.
You founded that. I need a little bit more, and then people can go off and do their own research.
So I was, as we were talking about earlier, I was working as a software developer in this fintech company called Transferwise. And I like talking to people. I like talking out and learning. And I have this, there's probably like a little bit more than average empathy, so understanding our users and understanding other people. So I ended up going out to conferences and promoting the company, but also doing developer outreach. So I was at a hackathon 1 year in, and I was kind of there to recruit new developers for this fast growing startup. But if you're going to spend the weekend at a hackathon, just hanging around, why not just submit your idea and maybe participate? Long story short, I pitched a joke, which was SaaS instead of software as a service. It was sorry as a service. We won the hackathon. We got funding. I got a team together and said, okay, this is an opportunity to start a startup. You have to grab onto these opportunities, right? So I left a great company to build my own company. We scaled it from Estonia, where we were based then. We set up offices in London, in Paris, in Riga, in Latvia. We worked with some big brand name companies like British Telecom, Telia, Tele2, all of the commodity-based companies. And essentially what we did, so sorry as a service in a nutshell, I say the world's largest apology provider. That's because we sent hundreds of thousands of gifts to customers. So in an increasingly digitalized, digitally interacted world, we said, okay, well, the solution to really creating strong, profound customer experiences is by sending them something physical and personalized. So we got the biggest network of bakers, chocolateries, flower shops across Europe, and we started expanding to the US, where the customer service representative in their CRM, in their customer relationship management system, they got a button say sorry the special way. They pressed that one. We retrieved the shipping information, and they wrote a personal message from that agent that would say, "Dear Elizabeth, I'm very sorry that your broadband went down for 2 weeks. The engineer has now been out and this should be resolved. This is a little special appreciation from all of us in BT to apologize." And that was actually handwritten, piped onto a cookie and sent to the customer.
Fascinating. That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you joining. Thank you so much. I want to send you a thank you as a service here, because I really had a great time hearing from you what you do and what's going on. So if I want to get started with improving my air quality here, where do I go and what shall I buy first? Because you don't have one product, you have multiple products. What shall I buy?
I think for you, I think a good opportunity for you is to get the flagship product is our Airthings Wave Plus. It has 7 sensors in one device, and it's battery operated. So it's very simple to just mount on the wall with a double-sided piece of tape or a screw if you want to have it a bit more wall-mounted. If you want to have like the continuous connectivity, there's also a gateway that you can add to it, and then you can start using IFTTT to control things in your building, to control your humidifier, dehumidifier, air purifier, or heating. Very simply setting it up yourself. You can also integrate with, do you have Alexa or Google Home?
I can't say it because otherwise my whole house goes crazy, but yes, I have all Google devices.
Yeah. So you can also integrate and you can say, hey, Google, tell me my air quality today, or hey, Google, let's check the CO2. So there's some cool integration.
And for that, I need the hub.
to get the continuous connection. However, there might be some. No,
I have a Habitat hub. I wish you'd work with those kind of hubs.
What's that? Habitat hub. I'll have a look at that.
Habitat. It's a hub that allows me to run everything at home. It's about this big.
Ooh. Okay.
And it's a hub that integrates with a variety of devices. So it allows me to connect to everything, like all my switches and everything works with that.
I have this one. It's a Homey from the Netherlands. It's like a Omni connection. It looks like a glowing orb as well. So it connects. It has 468 megahertz. It has Bluetooth. It has
have you heard of Wink?
Z-Wave.
Have you heard of Wink?
No.
Okay, that's another one.
Okay.
Yeah, so I switched off of Wink to, well, SmartThings from Samsung, right? SmartThings from Samsung was the original one, and then that one was somewhat limited. So Wink was the next one, and then Wink had some stuff going on, so I switched to Habitat. But check it out.
Very cool. I need to Google them now. I closed my browser to not like ruin the connectivity there, but I'm going to note them down. Actually, if you're just to geek out and let you know, another great Norwegian technology company is Remarkable.
Ah,
okay.
So what is that?
It's essentially gives you the feeling of it's the feeling of writing a paper. So you have a pen and you can without the distraction. So it's like yeah, it's a bit hard to explain this feeling over video, but it's a great way to
it's like doodling and writing on it, but it's electronic. Cool. I love the look of the book.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful product, and this is the second gen that they just launched now in the autumn, and it's sold insane amounts. Mark Zuckerberg has one. Like in the latest video shareholder meeting, you can see he wrote all his notes on Remarkable, which is another pride for Norwegian technologists that we've really gone mainstream. It's a beautiful product.
Well, congrats. You make some awesome stuff, and to bring it back, yeah, if love was the only thing in the air, I understand now why your job wouldn't exist, and I am a lot more aware now what's in my ear, so thank you for that. And with that, another coffee chat is coming to an end. Thank you for watching. If you missed any of today's or previous shows, check out our playlist. And with that, have a great day and stay safe. Thank you. Bye.